Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. So, who's ready to get down to business? You know, it is Wise Women's Wednesday. I don't know about you, but I need a little wisdom. You ready? You ready for that? Well, I saw this fabulous thing. You know, sometimes, have you noticed that sometimes you can find just a little bit of wisdom that somebody actually dropped in your Facebook feed? What? Seriously. Usually you're going, why am I even looking at this crap, right? Why am I even here? There's just so much of this garbage going on, blah, 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 blah. You don't need all that. So I look at when I saw this little nugget dropped, it just, it was great, and it helped me to write some new stuff in my journal because, I'm big on the journaling. Journaling helps to get what's in here out, and it really helps to calm our minds down, and it also helps us to sort things out. It's a great connector of dots, I always say, because when you take a look and take a, stand back and start looking at the patterns, you will find them. It's like trying to figure out your food sensitivity. Well, if you keep a food journal, you're going to find it. If you have something in your life that's tripping you up and holding you back and you're journaling, you're going to find what that thing is. There's a commonality there always. Always, I promise you. I've seen this. I've experienced it myself. Therefore, I'm passing it on. Anyway. This is what the wisdom that I saw is: you have a purpose before the world had an opinion of you, right? That's what it is. You had a purpose before the world had an opinion of you. Isn't that so good? We take the world's opinion of us and we let that model us instead of understanding what our purpose is to help others, who put us here on purpose, who is the boss, God, and why would we allow others to shape, mold, and direct our paths? Why? We don't play for an audience, we play for one. We don't have to shut up and put up and all of that because we're divinely appointed here at this time for a reason. And our reason is to help others, and the way it shows up in your life is uniquely, definitely only your way. That's the neat thing. And it changes. I mean, Joanne just said she loves this. Well, I'm going to use Joanne as my example. She's in a season right now of tending to her elderly father. That's not going to go on forever and ever, amen. You who are at home right now taking care of little toddlers and thinking, my head's going to explode, that's not going to go on forever and ever, amen. We have seasons in life. Things shift and change. And the blessed are the flexible, for they will not be broken, is one thing. But two, understand that this won't go on forever. It helps us to encapsulate the time a little bit and also to not squander it. I hate more than anything when I ask somebody, what are you doing? I'm just killing time. Really? You're killing time? This is the only commodity that we have that we cannot redeem for anything else. We cannot get our time back ever. So never kill time. Instead, redeem it. Instead, look at it as the beautiful gift that it is, right? Because it is. It's an amazing gift. So when I say all of this, I'm going to bring you to the full point of it's now time to literally pay attention. To pay attention. We need to pay attention to all the things. We need to pay attention to our thoughts, to our actions, to our words. We have to pay attention. And I've got some thoughts on this as we get through it. One of the things that I see a lot and I hear when I'm counseling and doing coaching sessions sometimes is, well, this is a stupid question. Why would you say that? Why would you say this is a stupid question? You phrase it with a stupid question saying, in other words, you're framing yourself as I am a person who asks stupid question. Don't ever say that about yourself. And don't even say, this might be a stupid question, just say, I need some clarification, etc., and then whatever it is. But when we have to watch what our words are, what our words are saying are framing our lives. So when you think, take a picture of your life and put the frame around it of what your words are. So when you say something like, oh, I hate my thighs. I mean, how many times? And how many times have I said that? I hate my thighs, or I hate this, or I hate that. I hate. And then I'll never do this, or I'll never be like that person, or I can't. These are all words. I have a separate thing for never and always words. And if you were at my, if you were there and at my addiction webinar, you know that we use that for food only. Just to make it so that we don't have this mental fatigue of making decisions about stuff we shouldn't really even be thinking about, right? That's all we do that for. And it's wisdom on how to use your brain. But when you say, I hate my thighs, you're talking about a body part that God himself created just for you. The condition of your thighs, well, that's something that you did all by yourself, whether they're too big or they've got dimples all over them, or, you've got veins popping out everywhere, whatever, a lot of that's self-inflicted. So do not hit hate on anything that God himself gave you. These thighs are part of the legs that makes you stand up for yourself. These thighs are part of the legs that held babies and walked the floors and comforted them. These thighs are part of the legs that walk to somebody in need. You think about what your body is capable of and what it houses too. This is your houser of your soul. It's a bodysuit, that's all it is, but it is a worthwhile one. And as you're hating on your thighs, think about somebody whose thighs are withering away because they can't walk anymore. This is the place that we need to go to, because our thinking depends on it, because our words are a product of what we think. That's it. So we've got to be looking at things a little bit differently. Changing the way your thighs look, what does that mean? Maybe it's going to mean changing your diet, which you need to anyway, so you feel better. Maybe it means getting a little bit of exercise in, which you need to, because that's going to release dopamine and serotonin and all kinds of oxytocin and all kinds of feel-good chemicals, and it's going to reshape them. So you've got a project, and let's just call them project thighs, shall we? I certainly have some project thighs on my hands, but let's not hate them. Hate needs to be reserved for things like Nazis, things like racists, misogynists, things like, horrible abusers of animals and children and old people. That's what we need to hate properly, not hate on something that belongs to us, that's been given and gifted. We are so privileged. Start thinking in those terms. You can hate on a politician, hate on a politician's policies, but don't hate the politician. We have to stop this hatred. We have to stop this divide. Unity is in our very words, and it's in the way that we see one another. How does God see us? How does he see us? And it is Ash Wednesday today. That's right. Yeah, I need a little cross on my head with some ashes. And the other thing that one of the other things that we do, one of the other great divides that we do for ourselves, is we put ourselves in this never having enough thing. Because I've heard this before. Well, I could never have that. That's for rich people. I could never have this because that's for rich. I will never. It's always going to be hard. We've always struggled. What are you doing? You are setting yourself up and just putting it out there, looking for evidence to support this scarcity-minded stuff. We don't have to do that. And it's not that you have to have a bank account bursting with millions of dollars, because millions of dollars people have that same kind of an attitude. It's scarcity-minded. Abundant thinking is so much different because it gives us enough for everyone. Life isn't a pie. You get a piece and you get a piece, and there's pie for everyone. Because when the pie starts to run out, we get another pie bake, don't we? There's abundance there. There's an oven cranking out pies. I promise you. And we're not going to be struggling for the last crumb and beating each other up for it. But when we have this thing going on, when we have this kind of a mindset, guess what happens? We're fighting over each other, and we start seeing each other, and they're stingy. They're not going to give us anything. I don't have enough. And That's a fixed mindset. And I want you in the place of growth, a place of growth where you see that there's abundance all around you, that there's great abundance all around you. There's leaves on the trees, there's fruit in the bowl, there's fabulousness everywhere, if only we'll open our eyes and see it. And you don't have to have, it's not about how much money is in your bank account. It's about what you do with it. It's about the way, the lavishness in which you spend it. And when I say something like that, I'm not talking about going to the, going shopping and spending everything on your credit cards and what have you. I'm talking about lavishness. Lavish would be spending it on the good food that's going to do good things for your body, instead of saying, well, good food is too expensive and I can't afford it, and then loading up on Cheetos and Doritos. Have you ever figured out how much those are by the pound? That's more expensive than a bag of potatoes. Just saying. So just take that one to the bank. Change the way you look at the world so you can change the way you look at yourself. There's a direct correlation. If you think the world doesn't have anything for you, pay attention, because it's just not true. So how do we do this? Well, number one is we got to set our standards. And I want you to set high standards for yourself, because you are in here on this earth for a reason, on purpose, right now, today. Right now, today, you are part of God's plan. So if you understand that, then this kind of thinking is just, it's too lowbrow. Set a higher standard. Set a higher standard. We do this all the time. We set standards for behavior with our kids. We set standards for what we're going to have in our house or not have in our house. We're going to have we're going to have a work standard. What's our work standard? I'm going to do good work. What is our word standards to ourselves? Well, we don't think about that thing. I want you to think about your thinking. I want you to think about the words that are coming out of your mind, your mouth, and I want you to apply the same high standards you do to the way you think, the words that come out, and how you would perform at work, for example, how you would expect your children to behave in public. All of the high standards that you have, apply them to your thinking and your words, and watch how you transform yourself just by accident, because you're paying attention. So when you raise the standard of how you think, you raise the standard of how you speak. I love that. I love it when when things begat each other. In the Bible, how they talk about all the begats. This is a begatter, for sure. I want the begats, don't you? I want the one effort to help me in so many others. And this is the truth. This is how it can happen. Number two, using always and never. Don't use always, don't use never in a conversation with your spouse, especially if it starts with the word you. You always, you never, and guess what? Unless it's a compliment, you always see the best in people. You never put other people down. Okay, yeah, there you go. But you always never say nice things about me. You always blah, blah, blah. Or you never, whatever. Can you see, them's fighting words. Those are words that break and strain a relationship. I know that's not what you want. If we're going to live vibrant lives, we need to have vibrant words. Our vibrant words need to be decorating and framing our lives. This is the reframe we need. This is the reframe we need. So always and never work great for food addiction. And I ask you to please use them all the time. Like one of the ones that I have is I never eat out of a bag. I never eat out of a bag. What does that make me feel like? Why do I do that? I don't eat out of a bag because a bag is addictive eating to me. A bag is just an open invitation. A bag is a problem for me. So if I wanted to eat something out of the bag, let's say there's tortilla chips. There's always tortilla chips, by the way, in my house because we make guacamole, and sometimes I like tortilla chips, but I count them out. Look on the back of a tortilla chip bag. It tells you how many you can have, right? And if that works for you, that works for me just fine, then do it. If it doesn't work for you, stay away from it. Now, chocolate, 1 ounce of dark chocolate a day, by the way, it's a superfood. Does that work for you? Great, do it. If it doesn't work for you, then don't. It doesn't work for me. I can't do that. So I always stay away from eating chocolate. I never eat chocolate. There you go. And abstaining from that kind of a food for the rest of my life, is that going to be a problem? No, It's not going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem if I indulge in it, because indulgence for me leads to an addiction. This is when you use the always and never words. This is when they work. Otherwise, always and never are going to paralyze you, offer you zero options, especially in having a conversation with a loved one, and will kill off all creativity, because we know that creativity is part of curiosity, and that's all a part of problem solving. That puts us in the growth mindset. So number 3 is to literally pay attention. And I have something for you on this. Something that you might want to do. If you have a problem with this, you've seen smokers do it, or people have swear jars where they've got a jar set up for swears. And every time they say, let the F-bomb drop, or they say a bad word, they've just got this habit of constantly swearing. They throw a quarter in the swear jar. The swear jar. And you could do the same thing when you hear yourself say something, well, you always, or you never, and it's not in a good way. Drop some money in your pay attention jar. That is literally to pay attention. Or you say something that puts you into a little corner that's absolutely, oh yeah, that's so fixed mindset. Pay it forward, Figure out what you're going to do with all that money in the jar, but that very act of paying attention to what you're saying is going to help you to stop right there. It's like when we say the kitchen's closed, why do we do that? To make ourselves pay attention. That's why we do it. Why do we do all the things that we make? We are taking ourselves to the next level of being aware of what we're saying, what we're thinking about, because what we're thinking about is going to come out in our mouths. I promise you, at some point it will. That's why we do it. So pay attention. And remember, your words can be a bounty that you need to pay. So watch what you're saying. And not only that, if you're thinking it, maybe you put a dime in for thinking about it, and if it comes out of your mouth, that costs you $1. I don't know. Whatever you want to set, you set the bounty. You do it, but do it. If this is a place of struggle for you, if this is a place that just keeps coming back and it's on this negative loop, you need a jar. Set it up, and I want to see it, by the way, in the Hot Melt Sprint group. Set up your jar. Number 4, set up your environment. Good grief. We've talked about this enough, but it is amazing what happens when your environment is supportive. It's like you get out of bed, there are your clothes ready to go. Because why? You do a routine every single morning. You've got your clothes out from the night before. You know what you're going to have for breakfast because you've always endeavored what you will and will not eat, right? You know when you're going to break your fast because you eat according to your hunger, not the clock. You know that at 10 o'clock in the morning that you have an appointment and you're going to get on that bike because you set it up that way. And when we do these things, we move through our day in habituation, which is a good thing, and we get things done. We start to be able to check those boxes instead of at the end of the day sitting on the couch guiltily watching, another Netflix rerun thing and saying, you know what? This day was a complete disaster. Instead of that, because we've set up our whole world for success and we're constantly being reminded by it, things are starting to change and turn around. And you know what? It's not like that. It takes a minute, but so what? You're here anyway. Why not put your attention on that, the things that you can change? And your environment, big time, is one of them. And the other thing is too, I also want to say that this all feeds into feeding a hungry fire. Because aren't we all hungry for the life that we want to live? Aren't we more hungry for that than this garbage food? I don't know about you, but that's my heart. I am hungry for this exact life. I'm hungry for vibrancy. I'm hungry for a vibrant community. I'm hungry for that. And when we can switch all of that out, we start to get actual results in our lives. It's not going to be perfect, but it can be excellent. Number 5, and I'm going to say this with so much love, failure is an event. Failure is an event. It is not a stamp on your forehead of who you are. Do you hear me on that? You are loved so much so that God put you here right now on this earth for a reason. He didn't say to you, hey, listen, failure, you go down here from heaven and just, I don't know, take up space and breathe. He didn't say that. No, he said, oh, you know what? The world needs Kimberly. You know what? The world needs Sarah, it needs Amy, it needs Jenny, it needs Amber. The world needs Leanne. You're going down and you're going to do your work. You're going to do the work, and I'm going to put it in you. I'm going to light you up with creativity and help you to do the work that you're meant to do. You're going to help people. You're going to do things that make a difference. And everything that you do has a ripple effect. Everything. So that's why it's so important that what we're thinking about and what we're talking about has to be projecting that kind of a life spent. So I told you this story, just briefly, going to tell you it again. There was a time, it was back in the early, I think like 2010, right around there. And this was, I was going through a whole lot of stuff. Maybe it was a little bit later than that. I just remember I was going through the rosacea thing and thyroid issues, and I was just really having a hard time. I had a double speaking engagement back to back. The first one, I was sick. I was on a medication that the doctor gave me, and I was literally hallucinating. And as I was walking across the stage and putting one foot in front of the other, I was praying to God I was not going to fall down. I had 6 inches of makeup on my face to cover this pustular rosacea, and I got the first ever bad marks I've ever gotten from the audience members when they thought I was a disaster. I was barely there. Then the next day I got on an from there, I was in Texas. From there I got on an airplane, went to Florida, where I was speaking to a group of entrepreneurial women. Well, that night, you know, I had some dinner there at the hotel, and I ended up getting food poisoning, and I couldn't speak the next day. I was, you know, I had to call from the bathroom floor, hey, you know, I've been throwing up all night, can't do it. So those back-to-back things, you know what I did? My identity then became, I am not a good speaker. I cannot speak. I'm not good for this because I got bad marks on this. I am not good here. Well, see, I mean, God basically laid me out in the bathroom so I wouldn't be able to speak. And I had this in my mind for about 4 years. And then it finally dawned on me, circumstances being what they were, in what happened, that was just extenuating circumstances. That is not me. That is not it. What's me is that I had a bad experience with that. That's what that was. And that's all it was. I wasn't a failure. I had two failure moments back to back. It happens. Number 6, last one, victimhood. Hello. You know what victimhood really is? It is blame shifting. That's what it is. It's blame shifting. It's instead of accepting responsibility wisely, it's saying, you know what? You made me eat that. Because we went out to dinner and you ate that, you made me order the truffle fries. Because we did this, you made me. What was that one Eleanor Roosevelt quote? No one can make you feel bad without your permission. That's, of course, you know, a little bit abbreviated and not quite exactly the way it should be. But that's the whole thing. That's not what we want. What we want instead is we need to accept responsibility wisely. We don't want to be looking for excuses. We want to be looking for solutions. Because when we're in problem-solving mode, that gives us all kinds of options. When we're blame shifting and we're putting it on somebody or a circumstance or whatever, one and done, man. We're in the corner and we don't have options. And I don't know about you, but I want options in my life. And one last thing, if you go the route of victimhood, you are making a decision about your life. You're making a decision to opt out because you're giving away your power. You're saying it's the M&M's fault, you know, like I did for years until I understood and realized, and that whole story, by the way, I've told here, and I also told in the addiction webinar that we did, is just that this was my problem. I had given away my power to a bag of candy, and I finally realized it. That's victimhood right there. We don't give it away. We hold on to our power. We speak up when we need to speak up and we don't push it down. We stand up when we need to stand up. And we're not quiet about what it is that we want in our lives, and we're not quiet about what it is that we don't want in our lives. This is important because this is how you become the fullness of who you are supposed to be. You were put here on this earth on purpose for a reason at exactly this time. Remember that. Remember, and you have a responsibility. You will answer for your life. You will answer for it. If you decide to opt out of it and not make decisions about it and just take the role of victimhood, you're going to miss out on most of it. It's no fun to live like that. So I'm giving you an open invitation right now to take this stuff off and to step into a growth mindset, the life you want to lead. Because this is what vibrancy is all about. This is how you get it. You ready to do that? I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to have that life. So I'm watching you. Be in our Hot Melt Sprint group. I want to see anybody, if anybody has a pay attention jar, I want to see it. You know, if you need it, you need it. So what? It's time for us to grow. It's time to step into the life we want. Remember, a rising tide lifts all boats. All boats. Peace be with you. Thanks for joining me today. See you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.